Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conscious Conversations. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn. So for those of you who don't know me yet, I am the founder of the Transformation Center based in Westport, Connecticut. And, at the center, in addition to the individual coaching and healing sessions that I do, we also offer a variety of classes and workshops, all sorts of cool stuff. And all the information about it is on our website, so you can check it out on the slide we're going to show, which is transformationcenterct.com. And, the purpose of having all of this for y'all is so you can develop more self-awareness and really tune into who you are and let go of everything that you're not. So I love working with people, especially beginners, so feel free to just call, text, come by and let us know. So, I started the Conscious Conversation show because I love meeting new people, talking to them about what's important to them, and sharing with you so you can learn from their journey and see what's in it for yourself. So tonight I'm very excited because my guest is Tracy Lynn Hoffman. Welcome to the show, Tracy.
Thank you, Katie. Nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, and of course this is not your first time because we did a show like 5 years ago, I think. It's been a while.
Right.
Yeah, but for our audience who doesn't know you yet, I'm just going to read a little bit about Tracy and then you can get to know her before we start. And we're also going to put up her slides so they can see your contact info.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so Tracy Lynn Hoffman is an internationally renowned Feng Shui master practitioner with over 20 years of study and practice. She is the creator of the mission alignment process. That sounds really cool. And that is a system that aligns clients' environments with their personal and professional objectives. Yeah, well, that's what it's all about, right? Yeah. And so Tracy is certified through the Feng Shui Design Studio and the New York School of Feng Shui. She has toured India and Nepal, something I would love to do, with a team of architects and teachers to learn the Indian Feng Shui style. And this is known as Vastu Shastra. And she traveled to Bolivia to study indigenous structures with the country's leading Feng Shui masters. Wow, I would love to do that too. So Tracy has been featured on NBC, Fine Living Network, Discovery Channel, and other media. Yeah, so I'm really excited to have you today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I know that, we are friends. We have been for 20-something years.
Like 30.
Yeah, but we don't keep up with each other that much. But I know you told me recently that you're starting something kind of new. So why don't we start there and then we'll back up to how you got into it, okay?
Yeah, well, it's funny. When you're reading my bio, I was thinking to myself, wow, it has been quite a journey. Like, what a journey it's been. It's been 27 years since my son was born. That's kind of how I get into it, which we'll talk later. Yeah. But yeah, I'm now rebranding and relaunching my business, actually. Okay. Because I started off doing Feng Shui, and in the last 10 years, I've done a lot of professional organizing, and my website was hacked like 10 years ago, and I've procrastinated and dealing with perfectionism. I just couldn't get it out there. So I was doing organizing, but my love and what I love to do is Feng Shui. Now, some people may not know the difference, and I'll get into that. I consider organizing really Feng Shui 101 because it's the biggest bang for your buck to grab energy. And during COVID and during the pandemic, everybody was organizing. Yeah. So I thought, okay, good. This is a good time. Like, everybody's got that done. Now it's time to get into some bigger levels, like getting into dreams and life goals and purpose. And that's where I use Feng Shui as a tool to manifest that for people, their dreams. And if you don't have your dreams, through my process, the mission alignment process, we get there. And thank you for bringing up what I'm really excited about right now, which I just discovered a few weeks, like a month ago. A new program that I'm taking out is called Digital Detox. And it started like this. My daughter just graduated college, and she has a 100% remote job. And we've just come out of well, when it just seems like we just came out of the pandemic where everything's on Zoom, where, we got very used to being in a, behind a screen. So I realized, like, for her, like, she's meeting people, like, her whole world is this, the computer, like, that is her world. So it's beyond a device. Like, I grew up with no computers. So when first renditions of computers, when I literally had the very first Macintosh, like, you played a game on it. That's what it was. You played a game. Then as it got over, I remember I call it iMac I had, which I called my toaster, like it was a toaster. You plugged it in, and then it was AOL, you got mail. And then we, developed into Microsoft, where you could do Excel spreadsheets and whatever. So I realize now, like, the digital world is no longer, they're not devices. It's actually a space. We're relating to people, we're relating to worlds, we're relating to work environments through our laptops and our desktops. And I realized, well, what happened is my computer froze, I turned it off, it came back on, the desktop was wiped out. It was, I freaked. Like, I am not very savvy like that. So my son got the two most important files. My 27 years of business, I have clients' files and Tracy's work right there, exactly where I know to go, kind of like muscle memory, where you I turn it on, I kind of go here, click, and couldn't do that. So he pulled the files out of the cloud. I had no idea how to do that. And like, how do you go get it? I know, know there's a cloud, but how do you get it out of there? So then he said, Mom, you have like 1,000 screenshots. And I'm like, oh, okay. And kind of like, you're a professional organizer, you have 1,000 screenshots. Like I said, I can organize anything on earth, anything, physically. In a computer, just add memory. It's a mess. I mean, it's a mess. So anyway, so I ran to Apple, waited while I had an hours before I could get an appointment, and I sat down and I thought, well, let me go through these screenshots, the 1,000 screenshots that my son said. So one by one, I started going, and I'm like, yeah, this is a lot of junk in here. So it started feeling, the more I started like deleting or putting them in a file, like making a file, I started feeling like more in control. I started feeling better about the whole thing. Then I go to it was my turn, go to the genius, and he said, hey, you haven't backed up your computer in a while. I'm not going to touch anything. I know what went wrong, but you need to back it up. And so I said, well, hey, listen, does Apple make any courses for organizing? I'm a professional organizer, but I don't know how to organize. Like, what are best practices? He's like, no, we don't do anything like that. So I went home and I just started like doing all different kinds of things to just like take it on. And actually, that's probably why it's given me a lot of energy. While I was able to put my website, I kind of re-energized to get my website going again, to relaunch to Feng Shui, and to start this digital detox. So I'm doing a course that's going to start October 10th, 7 weeks. And each week we're going to go over a different topic. And it's really from a Feng Shui, or let's say an energy point of view, because the impact of all that clutter behind the screen, even though we don't see it, is just the same as in real life. Tired, fatigue, confusion, overwhelm. And from personal, and even my Feng Shui practice, I've always taught or consulted by personal example. I have experienced everything that I should have done, should not have done, and had the effects of it. I'm a very, very skeptical person. When I first learned Feng Shui, which was 27 years ago, I was like, I had to see it again to it proved. I mean, I was like, I was an accountant by training, so I'm very pragmatic. But when I saw that over and over again, changing a few things with intention, and when I was in India, I actually learned how to manipulate energy, because at the time when I was in India 27 years ago, we were still very polarized. East was east, west was west. And they were very spiritual, and it wasn't like we had like this questioning, is there something out there, is there a higher power? We have a lot of Westerners question. The Easterners, no, There's not even a question about it. They wake up, they meditate, there's routines like 100%. So I learned kind of how to manage energy. That was kind of what I learned from the takeaway from Vastu.
Yeah, so that's really helpful because that, like you said, that's really the objective, is to make your space so where it's complementary to you rather than fighting against you, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting. So everything, like, reason why people, like, back in the 80s or 90s or whatever, when there was kind of new Feng Shui, was kind of being made of like, oh, don't move the chair, the Feng Shui person said it. Well, everything in your space is like telling energy where to go. It's stop signs, green lights, go here, just like on traffic, when there's, caution, that's how energy moves. Everything in a room or a space is giving directions of where the energy to go. I'm trained to manipulate that energy to make it go where it should go for whatever the client's objectives are. I can know just overall how to optimize the energy, but what's really fun, and that's what I use the missional alignment process is to support what people's goals and dreams are, because energy really wants to move towards your dreams. That's really what the whole job is.
And the universe wants to support us in that.
Exactly. The universe, and yes, so it's kind of, and I've this is why I returned to Feng Shui, because I've had thousands of clients in the last 27 years ago, and nothing makes my heart happier. It's my joy, my passion, my purpose of facilitating people to get to those dreams. I've had people get married, find their husband 24 hours after a consultation, have a dream job 24 hours after a consultation. Sometimes it moves that fast, sometimes it moves a little slower. But I always say Feng Shui is like putting rocket fuel behind something. So whatever it's going to happen fast. Kind of hold on to your seats. And if it's not, then there's still something in the space slowing it down. So I use a principle of physics is energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. So I can see what's negative in the space, and I know what to do to transform it, to change it to positive, and that's what gives the energy to move people forward and forward fast.
Yeah, and like you said, you find out what their goals are, what their dreams are, and then tailor it to them, since everybody's different.
Oh, 100%. Like, I come in neutral. I don't even have any idea. Like, some people think it's a style. Some people think it's still like Chinese, like a Chinese style of, like, you'd have to have all Chinese looking furniture. No, not at all. I come in very neutral, and I will use whatever your furnishings are or your taste and make those suggestions, colors that blend into your own environment that would look like you. That's the whole point. I had a client once who had, she had a decorator. $1 million was his in price to decorate her house. I stepped in, and then when I was asking questions, she goes, oh yeah, this looks exactly like my decorator's house. So he had a stamp, like a cookie cutter of what he did, but it had nothing to do with that family. So I had to put them in their house, put them in their house, like energy, put the energy of them in their house, because, what they love to do, and how does that show up? So for anybody who doesn't know, I'll just do a little brief, what is Feng Shui?
Yeah, just like a short intro, like what is important for people to know.
Yeah, so Feng Shui literally means wind and water.
Wind and water.
Wind and water.
Okay.
That's what it means, wind and water. So Feng Shui is more, I interpret it as a concept, because what does wind and water mean?
Right, it's not literal.
Right.
Yeah.
This is like, when some people call it art, is it a science? I say it's a concept.
Okay.
Or a context. And I use it as a tool. I use it as a tool to achieve results for people. But so to me, wind and water, those are the biggest elements to influence change. Think about it: hurricanes, storms, the Grand Canyon. It was all water to wear all those, ridges down. So those are big elements that affect change. So I look at Feng Shui as a tool to affect change, real simply.
Yeah. So how did you get into it to begin with then?
Oh, well,
talk about that.
Yeah, well, when I was pregnant with my son, my third child, that son, he 27 years ago. We were looking for I had two daughters at the time in a 3-bedroom house, and neither one of them were going to share a room. They would have killed each other. So I need a bigger house. And I liked my house. I was looking for a bigger version of my house, and I couldn't find it. It just wasn't out there. And I remember having the thought when I was going on seeing a lot of houses, like, why are there so many houses that just seemed unloved? And isn't there something that could be done about it? I just remember having that thought. And then we did end up finding a house, and we were, it was a house in foreclosure, divorce, bankruptcy. I mean, everything you could possibly, and this was a fair market. We'd never seen anything like that. I had never seen anything like that before. But my husband at the time, he's wanted a deal. So he was hot on this house. And I was kind of freaked out because the building inspection came back poor, and it was only an 8-year-old house. So that I had sold real estate, and that freaked me out. Like this just had, and I felt bad. So we were going to go to contract the next week, and somebody had at a dinner party told me about Feng Shui. Who had ever heard of Feng Shui before? And they had read an article in Country Living and cut it out and put it in my mailbox. There was a bibliography. So I went to Barnes & Noble, and there was one book in Barnes & Noble. Again, this is 27 years ago, and I'm pregnant. And the book was called Feng Shui Made Easy. So I buy the book. I'm like, okay, this will fix it. So I'm reading the book. It's like reading Chinese. It's like, this is not easy. So I'm now, what am I going to do? Close the book, look, and on the back cover, the author's name is William Spear, and he lives in Litchfield, Connecticut, 45 minutes away. So
that's convenient.
So I called, and he came and he said, "Don't buy this house." And I was like, well, there's a couple things about that. So I didn't own the house. The real estate agent couldn't meet us, so she left the back sliders. It was a large house at the time. It was before the McMansions. It was like a 6,000 square foot house. I think the house I was coming from was less than 2,000. And again, all this stuff that I was hearing, even that was going on in that house, just wasn't good. And I was like, how am I gonna, there was an illegal apartment. There's all kinds of bad stuff going on. Anyway, so he came, and we walked up this back steps to the deck. And at the top of the deck, there was a dead rat the size of like a small dog with holes pecked in it. And I'm like, that looks like a bad sign. And he's behind me. I said, is that a bad sign to you? And he just looks at it. He doesn't say anything. So then we go in the house, and after like 10, 15 minutes, I said, well, there's this illegal apartment downstairs. Do you want to see it? And he says, no, I don't really need to. I'm like, oh, he goes, don't buy this house. I'm like, what? I thought you were going to tell me how to fix it. What do you mean, don't buy this house? You have to show me why. You have to tell my husband why. So we go out on the deck, and I'm thinking he's going to point to the dead rat again, and he doesn't. We go to the railing, and it was a 2-acre zoning. It was a short backyard, large side yard. So there was a house that was being built in the back of this small backyard, and it was on a corner. It was kitty-catty cornered, how it was sited in relationship to the house I was looking at.
Yeah, gotcha.
So he points to that, and he says, look, this house was 8 years old that this owner or the builder had put in. There's all these big evergreen trees. And he says, he points to the tree. There's one dead tree of all this huge line of green trees. And when I looked at it, and he says, look where it is. It was right on the point. And in that moment, I guess it's like if priests had calling. I swear this happened. In that moment, the skies parted. I heard the angels singing, and every hair on my body stood straight up. And I looked at him. I guess there's something to this. I said, I believed him, but I didn't know why. And like I said, I'm a very pragmatic person, I needed to know why. So I said, can I study with you? And he said, no, I'm not taking anybody, new students on, or he wasn't teaching anyone at that time. But 2 months later, a gentleman by the name of Roger Green from the design studio in Australia came to the Wainwright House in Rye, and I took a course then, and that led me on. And then I went to India with Roger, and that's like, it was a whole, it opened up. And I can promise you, in that first class, they're talking about heavenly stems and earthly branches, and I was like, what kind of strange world did I just step into? But it's like, as I said, it's been a journey, it's been a ride.
Yeah, and it's your calling.
And it's like, and I love it for other people, you know, being able to gift it for people. That's,
Yeah, well, that's wonderful, because I've had some Feng Shui done, and I think it's really helpful. It is practical. You know, like you said, it seems to some people maybe a little out there, a little woo-woo, but it's really not, because it's energy. We're all energy.
Exactly. It's all energy.
So
everything is energy.
It's like using things in a helpful way to be, you know, to your advantage, like you're saying, to meet your goals, your desires, your dreams, and to have everything aligned like that. And what is your process called again? Alignment?
Mission alignment process.
Mission alignment
Mission,
process.
because everybody has a mission, whether it's a business I'm working with, you know, what is your mission? You know, if someone's mission is they provide the best service and they're having a lot of customer complaints, there's an out of alignment there, so that we go to work there. And every person, just like the dreams, I believe that's your mission, you know, what your dreams are, what your calling is, what your purpose is. That's we have personal missions.
Yeah, well, that's great. So we're going to put up your contact info one more time so people can know how to reach you.
Great.
Tracy Lynn Hoffman, and the digital detox is starting in October.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. So contact me directly, or through an email, or go to my website. You can register straight from the website to do that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that I'm super excited about.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. I think I might have to try that myself. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Katie.
It's wonderful to catch up.
It's so nice. I don't think I've seen you since that 5 years ago.
I know. It's wonderful to catch up.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Find out what's going on. And thank you to our audience for tuning in today. And thank you to the Westport Library, Verso Studios, for hosting us. We really appreciate it. Bye-bye, everybody. Namaste.